Welcome, everybody. Woo! I'm going to turn this music off. There we go. Welcome to the Rev Mel Show on TSRnetwork.com, where real people talk about real sex with really kinky people. I don't have any great announcements this week. I'm really excited about my guest. A funny little story about my guest. The thing is that one day I was online and I saw somebody do a posting somewhere about a new BDSM app. And I says, I've got to see this. So I joined immediately. And then as soon as I joined, one of my closest friends and my family members messaged me on Whiplr. And I go, oh my God. I says, what are they doing on there? This is absolutely crazy. You know, him and his girl, they both emailed me. We made a date that day to go to the stock room and to hang out and to have a lot of fun. And I was really excited about the fact that that we were able to connect, and we connect on it all the time now. It's very, very convenient and easy. And I started going through Whiplr, and I had a lot of questions in my mind. And then I had a wonderful note from a young man named Daniel, who said, I'd like to speak to you. And so it was from Whiplr. And so I'm going to introduce my guest right now. Hello, Daniel. Is it, it's Savet? Did I say it wrong? What?
Sevet.
Sevet?
Sevet, exactly.
Like Chevis? Chevet?
Like, I don't know what, it doesn't rhyme with anything, I don't think.
But what's really, so tell everybody where you're at right now, because you're not in the United States.
No, I am not in the United States. So I'd like to say good evening to you and good evening to everyone watching. But really, it's about 6 o'clock in the morning where I am. So bright and early, way over in the Middle East.
So you're in Israel?
I'm in Israel, about 20 minutes north of Tel Aviv at the moment.
Wow, I've always wanted to go to Israel. After I converted to Judaism, I wanted to go and volunteer for the army. And then I got scared and I says, no, I can't do that. I couldn't leave my daughter. I says, I can't do that for, a couple years, but I really wanted to. And I was a lot younger then, a lot more fresher, a lot stronger. I probably could have carried one of the backpacks really well. I love shooting rifles, so I thought that would be awesome. So I said, this would be a lot of fun to do, an interesting journey, but I didn't do it. But I've always wanted to do it. So when you and I sat and talked, I was really surprised by something. You work with the company called Whiplr. How did it get started? Whiplr. Let me pronounce it the best. You can always correct me. So who's the brainchild behind it, and how did it get started?
So really, there was a group of us who sat down, and we're all coming from a high-tech background and looking for a way to deliver a mobile experience. We had a number of ideas how we can go out there and produce the next generation of messaging apps and really reach a broad audience and deliver an experience that worked for everybody. And we decided that the best way was to focus on a particular niche, and we were looking for a niche that was really underserved and undeveloped. And we looked at the kink community, and it so happened that part of the group was, we ranged. There's a whole range of people with various levels of experience. And as I said to you when we first spoke, I'm probably the most vanilla of the whole group. But I'm here doing the talking. And they really looked and said, there is not a mobile app that really serves this community, that really allows people to communicate online. Now, we know that communities exist online at your computer, but there was nothing that really served people in the mobile world. And there's good reasons for this. As I said to you back then, and we can talk about those if you like.
I would love to talk about them, but what I think I find it really unique is the fact that there was quite a few people that were in your group that were into BDSM, and they knew what they were talking about. Yeah, because your app is interesting. And one of the things that we had, there was a lot of questions on it, but let's talk about first, before let's talk about the interworkings of it. So I just figured something out when you said that it's a messaging app. See, I had it wrong. I thought it was a dating app.
So, I think it offers so much more than a simple dating app. So many of the dating apps that are out there are just about hooking up and hooking up for a night. And, I think that's just one facet of the experience that you get with Whiplr. And so we introduced within the app every single kind of messaging feature, so that you can just text someone, you can reach out and do actually a voice call in app, over the internet. Doesn't cost you anything from your minutes, but it will cost you take from your airtime, from your data package rather, and also video chat. So right within the same app, you find someone, you reach out, you see someone who you feel a connection with, and you can make contact with them. And specifically, I think within this community, where the kind of experiences, the kind of connections you can make aren't necessarily about having the person right next to you, where you can make a connection and fulfill your passions or explore your interests over video chat, maybe just by connecting someone with a voice, and you don't necessarily need to meet up with them, but there is also that option as well. So I think, I don't think it's unusual that you saw it as a dating app. I think it's much more than just a dating app, and you were one of the first people who said to me, you gave me real world experience where you met friends online and you arranged to go out and go to the stockroom together. And that to me, that's a perfect expression of what Whiplr can do. It's for this community to connect and communicate. And if people want to find someone to have a little fun with, or look for a play partner, or find a mentor, or just ask questions, that's also available all within the app.
Well, let's show the viewing audience a little bit about your app. I want to bring it up and basically, I'm going to seize the camera here. So basically, explain to me what this is.
Okay, so this is your home screen. When you first download Whiplr, you should log in and create a profile. Now that profile can be as full or as empty as you want. But we encourage people to fill it up. Put in what your interests are. Describe yourself. Give yourself a neat little tagline so that people will come find you. And then you will appear, actually, if this was you logged in, this is an example screen, your picture would be in, I'm trying to make sure, I think the top left of this screen, the girl playing the guitar, that would be you. And then everyone else are the people arranged around you. Now, they're originally ordered by proximity to you. So it uses your mobile device's GPS to determine how close you are to other users on Whiplr. And then if you look in the top right-hand corner, you see the little funnel. You can filter your choices. So you could choose to see only people who define themselves as a certain gender. You can choose to see people who have your particular interests or a particular level of experience that you're interested in. And as you explore, you can see a whole range of different people. Now, what you can see in some of those little hexagons in front of you, you can see the little green dot at the bottom of them. And that means those people are online right now. So it starts off, you can see people close to you. You could filter also by the people who are online right now by tapping on the hexagon in the top. You can see how many messages you've got. That's the little 8 in the speech bubble. And you can start to explore, tap on any of those hexagons. You'll see a little more of the person's profile and decide if you want to contact them or not. So it's a very, in some ways it plays like other traditional dating apps. But once you get in, once you tap and choose someone's profile, you get to message them and connect with them any way you like, whether it's just by sending an ice-breaking message, whether it's sending what we like to call sparks. And if you look on this screen, you've entered someone's profile here, and you have a number of choices. And if you send them a spark is like a quick animated message that you can send to someone. And we have a range of different sparks, and each one is based around perhaps a particular kink or fetish, and sends them a nice little ice-breaking message that saves you having to go through an old tired, hey, how you doing? Want to hook up? I like the way you look, or I'm interested in hearing more. You said in your profile this, tell me a bit more about yourself. You can just send an animated spark, or if you've got a really strong message, go for it. Make that approach, break that ice, and see how far you go.
And I noticed that there's a video camera up the very top. Does that mean that it's for video too?
So absolutely, video chat is a key part of it. And I think specifically, if you're talking to someone for the first time, I think that there's gradations about how you grow and evolve that relationship. It might start with a text message. You might progress to something like video chat before you want to go and meet someone in the real world. And we cater to all those different experiences. Now, the other beauty is, of course, you can find someone who's close to you, or you can look beyond your immediate area. So you can search, you can search another city, or look for people much further away. And in those cases, a video chat may be your best chance of exploring your connections and your shared passions.
So, and this is a chat list. This is people that you've chatted with, and
exactly. Correct? Exactly. So you can like any other messaging app that you may be familiar with. You can look at the chats that you've had. You can review your chat history, and you can continue. You can see what chats are open, what messages are waiting for you to be read.
So when did you start working? Oops, let me get that. Woo. Let me get back to my camera. When did you start? When did you start working on this app? When did you guys get together and decide? How long did it take you to put the framework together and to get it up?
So I think the first bit of code probably started about 9 months ago. So the idea was bubbling for a while, and then we put the team together to really build it and deliver world-class features. I mean that was always the goal. That the app, while we are building it to serve a particular community, we must deliver the highest standards of messaging features and functionality that we could.
So let's talk about the higher standard. On some of your, the area where you have to put like shopping or object, and explain to me how it was dealing with Apple and Androids and dealing with these companies like Google Play and Apple to see about how to be able to get an app for BDSM. I mean, that had to be really difficult.
So it's a great question. I know we've spoken about this a bit offline. I'd love to talk about it more. It was key to us. If we want to, we want to make this work because we want to provide a service and deliver a valuable app in a gap for a community that needed it. But in order to make that work, we needed to make the app available to the widest possible audience. And we know that there are gatekeepers for mobile apps, and they are Apple for the App Store and Google for Google Play. If you want to reach a wide audience and you want everyone with covering, I think that covers over 90% of the mobile phone market, you need to be available on those stores. Now, if we're going to make ourselves available in those stores, you have to play by their rules. And it turns out, and this only comes through the process of putting the app together and trying to make it available, that they get pretty strict when it comes to these things. Now, I don't want to try and get into their heads too much about why they're tough on BDSM, but seem to be less tough on other areas. But it seems like this may still be for them a taboo or something which seems slightly dangerous and slightly scary. And we went through several iterations of the app in order to make it acceptable to them. And I know this because when they send back reasons why they're not happy and they're not ready to release it in their store, they use terms from their terms and conditions, and it came under the area of sexually explicit, which the app was never at any point sexually explicit. And I think using the word spanking or BDSM or foot fetish, these are not sexually explicit terms. These are terms in common usage. You can, they're out there. This is not an underground thing. Without wishing to go there too heavily. 50 Shades of Grey sold 100 million copies of that book. These people are familiar. The world is not shocked and terrified by the idea of fetish and kink, and yet these gatekeepers still seem to be a little scared. So we iterated and we we delivered an app which was acceptable to Apple, it was acceptable to Google, and we had some pushback when it went out there because people said, hey, how come when I choose my fetish, I have to choose a broad term like I'm into materials or sounds or behaviors? And we said, first of all, we think this is great that everyone, we take it as a positive, that everyone can self-define any way they want. I'm not going to put you in a pigeonhole and say that your kink has to be this and this is how you define yourself. Let's keep it broad, and then you can define yourself any way you want. I was actually happy not having to narrowly define those areas of kink that people have. So partly, I think that's a positive aspect, but we know partly also it was to satisfy those mobile gatekeepers so that we get the app out there and make it available to as many people as possible.
Because one of the articles or the postings that I read on FetLife when you and I first came in contact, and I says, I think you need to look at this. And they did comment on the fact about that they thought that it was people that knew nothing about BDSM. That was one of the statements that I saw. And then when I talked to you and I found out how hard it is for Apple and Google to accept certain things, I understood it. I have an app for TSR Network, and it's a self-made one, a really quickie one, and we do have BDSM. All our shows air on it, So, but I don't know if we write down, any of the terms. We might. I don't even think we put in BDS. We might. I don't know. I've got to go back and look at it. I don't remember what I put in it because I never look at it. I don't have an Android, and I never submitted it to to iPhone. So I really don't have a clue because we broadcast our live shows there. But I understood when you talked about how hard it was and difficult to deal with, terminology. But, with the people that are helping you build it, that you guys are building together, they know about the lifestyle, and they know one of the other things that people have talked about, the app, is that it was dangerous. And I got really upset about that because I'll tell you the reason why. You have collar space where people are meeting online and not knowing anyone and meeting. You have FetLife that people are meeting online and nobody knows each other. And so I didn't feel that your app was any dangerous than any of the other apps that were out there. They're talking about personal safety here.
Yeah, so it's a key issue for me, and I was kind of surprised again at when we got that kind of pushback from people. So let me start by saying that everyone should do everything in life with a sense of responsibility and common sense. And that's, whether you're walking in the street, whether you're driving, whether you're going to college, whether you're going to work, anything you do, you need to be self-aware and smart and careful about who you are meeting in privately for the first time. So let's put that out there. That's a given. We know that people need to behave smartly. I found it a little patronizing that people suddenly said, oh, so this is about kink and fetish? Yeah, you need to be extra careful. Yeah, you're going to get murdered if you do this. I'm thinking, really? This is what you've taken from this? That the people who are exploring themselves and finding out about themselves sexually and exploring the potential to meet new people and make a connection with this particular interest, these are the people that are going to stalk you and murder you any more than if you are using a dating app, whether you're going out, whether you're using a gay dating app, a Jewish dating app. There's any range of niche dating apps out there. But suddenly, if you're into BDSM, if you have a particular fetish that you want to explore, when you're looking for a play partner online, whether you can just connect with via video chat, or whether you actually want to meet someone in real life, suddenly that's the route through which you're going to be horribly stalked and murdered. I think it goes back to the same thing that we were talking a little bit about with the gatekeepers. There is still a sense of danger, of difference, of taboo that exists around this, and I find it very old-fashioned, very outdated. Certainly, my experience of meeting and talking to people, and as I say, I come into this from a more vanilla background, and I met the warmest, friendliest, most encouraging, most welcoming people in the world, and so I just really question why it is they think this is of all apps in the world, this is the one that's going to be put you in mortal danger. I don't see it.
Well, people do. People are always talking about fearful things, and people getting in trouble, people getting hurt. But that can happen on OkCupid. That can happen on any website that is out there, a dating site. And the thing about the FetLife, I feel FetLife is more of an information website that teaches you things about, you can talk about protocol, you can talk about negotiations, so forth and so on. I haven't looked at your terms. I haven't gone through and looked at, the terms of, what is it called? When you sign on to something, there's always some terms and limits or whatever it is. I mean, is there in the future, okay, here we go. In the future, are things going to be added to the app? Are you in the process of adding other things to the app?
So we're evolving the whole time, and we listen very closely to the feedback. There's a beautiful evolution that occurs when you do app development, because we're sitting in a room full of people. We're coming out with great features. We're developing them. We test them. We try them out within our test environment, and then this creature gets released into the wild, and then this weird thing happens where real people start to use it. And real people start to test those features by talking to other people and connecting, and we see the numbers and the strain on our servers and the desperate decision who to talk to, whether they're using video chat, are they using voice chat, are they sending messages, are they sending pictures. Suddenly, all these things go out into the real world, and we get feedback, and the feedback has been fantastic. And I mean that, whether it's been feedback, why aren't you doing this, and why is it not like this? All which some people may see as negativity. I see no, these are real people in the real world who want this to succeed, and they are finding things not the way they wanted. We also get a lot of really positive feedback that says, "Wow, I've been waiting for this for the longest time. Now I can really take it around with me on my phone and not just have to wait till I get to a PC before I can talk to people." And we listen to this feedback, and we are developing and making changes based on things we've heard. So I'll give you an example of one of the things which we took very seriously, and that was all about gender definition. When you sign up to the app, we had a very binary system for defining yourself, and we got immediate pushback from the community, and we knew going in that we had compromised in some ways. And one of the earliest pushbacks say, "Hey, this is not right. That I have to choose whether I'm a man or a woman, and there's very little flexibility, very little real world reflection of what is actually happening out there." And we listened to that, we heard that, we said, yes, we sensed that we hadn't dealt with this properly, and we're going to deal with it in the next iteration. So we're very, very keen to get that feedback and feed it back, exactly as it should be. Feed it back into the app, so we keep evolving and keep delivering something that makes sense to our users.
Well, how many users are, rough estimate, how many users are you at right now? Because it hasn't been out for very long.
So we've been out about a month, or just over a month. And it's a little early to be going into sort of real figures, but I can tell you that we're seeing tens of thousands, and I think very close to adding several degrees up on top of that. And downloads every day. Thousands and thousands of people are still discovering this every single day. It's growing organically, and we're seeing it growing across the world. The next stage for us would be to grow it so we reach a critical mass in particular cities, and that's what we're focusing on now. We want to make sure that when you do turn on the app, you've got people around you, not just all over the world. If we had 5 people in every city in the world, that's fantastic. It doesn't necessarily solve everyone's needs. And so what we're trying to do is focus on key cities, and we're looking for the kinkiest cities in the world, and we have an idea of where they are, and we hope our users will help us find them as well. And find cities and build a critical mass of users in each of those places. So that's our next goal, to really grow it. Everything's been so wonderfully organic, and we want to keep that up, and the pace is just tremendous. And now we want to build a critical mass in each city.
Los Angeles is a huge city. We have dungeons galore. We have munches. There's not a day in in Los Angeles that you're not going to a munch or some function. I stopped going to so many of them. I got exhausted. I said, this is ridiculous. I mean, every single day, sometimes 2 or 3 events. But we have, let me take over the camera. We have some chat questions. Let's put this up there. Okay, what we've got here is Tony Bones is asking a question about right now you can join it for free, correct?
Yeah.
And then he wants to understand what the price range is and what does it cover and what do you get.
Okay, it's a great question. So we operate a what they call a freemium system. Freemium, like it's premium, but there's a free element as well. So the way it works is as follows: you can download the app for free, you can create a user profile for free, and you can start using the app for free without ever paying a penny to anybody. Which means you can initiate chats, you can make video calls, you can connect with people, and use every feature within the app. You can send sparks, etc., etc., etc. But while you're using it for free, there are daily limits. And I want to stress that word. The limits are daily. So for example, if you just want to make an initial connection with somebody and you want to send them one of our sparks, one of these beautiful animated icebreakers within the app, there are limits per day on how many sparks you get to choose from. So while we have a wide range of sparks, only 3 of them may be available on any given day to a free user, and there's a limit to how many you can send. And the same for the video chats. We put a limit on how many new video chats you can initiate with people you haven't spoken to before. So you can still carry on using it, and those limits reset each day. So if you reach a limit on one day, you just come back the next day and you can start all over again. Those limits are refreshed every single day. But if you're finding yourself using the app so much that you reach the limits and they're a little frustrating and you want to go beyond, then we have a premium subscription service that we call Decadome. When you choose to pay the subscription fee, and it ranges, the $19.95 a month, I think it is if you pay for 1 month. If you take it over a year, it comes down to as low as $9.99 a month. So if you pay the subscription, then those limits are lifted. Then you can chat as many people as possible. You can send all the sparks as many times as you want. And it just lets, there's with every app, there is a percentage of super users which say, hey, this is so important to me. This is so much part of how I go about my daily business that I need to have all those limits lifted. I need to be able to freely use this app any way I want. And for those users, we have the premium subscription.
We have more questions in the chat room. We also have Darren, who's just come in the chat room. Art Miller is in the chat room. Tony Bones, Pig Carey's in the chat room, and quite a few more people are watching, and they're asking questions. And as you can say that they go no trolling on Rev Mel on a daily basis. And Darren goes, oh, you're trolling now? No, I'm not trolling. Tony Bones says, like I said, $19 a month is a bit pricey, but it's more than daily limits, search and filters. I think that's, did you understand that one?
Yeah, so exactly. I said with the subscription to Decadome, also I think he's seen it. You also have unlimited filtering. So we saw that screen before where I said you can filter by gender and you can filter by who's online right now. When you pay your subscription, you get all sorts of other filters. You can filter people specifically with whose experience matches what you're looking for, who are into specific kinks as well. So once you enter the Decadome, there's a whole range of features and filtering and removal of the limits, which I think gives you a certain amount of freedom. We priced it and we're flexible on that as well. We put it out there because we think this is an experience that is more fulfilling and more valuable than, say, some dating apps which come in at a lower price point. And yet we've also seen there are dating and hookup and messenger apps which come in at a much higher price point. So we've put ourselves there somewhere in the middle, and we're trying to see how it goes. Again, I don't want to reveal the figures at the moment, but I would say we have a healthy number of people who are using the app so regularly and getting so much value from it that they're finding that they can't live without the Decadome, without the premium experience. And then we have tens of thousands of people who are happy to deal with their daily limits and make connections and find people and find play partners just using the app for free. So we encourage people, download the app, start using it. If those daily limits bother you, we have a subscription option. If they don't, get out there, meet people, explore everything within your limits.
So will there also be on some of the free apps, the free app part of it, will there eventually be advertising where their banner ad will come up? Is that one way to increase profits from having an app from the free people?
So that's certainly we were looking to explore how to monetize this app from many different angles, and we said to begin with we want to avoid flooding people's screens with advertising, but it's definitely something that we would explore in the future.
In the chat room, oops, I put the wrong one. In the chat room, Art Miller says, how are your negotiations with Apple? What has been the biggest challenge?
So it's a great question. When you want to put an app out on the App Store and you create an account with Apple and you submit the first draft or the first version of your app to Apple, they go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and we sent them a test version of the app, and they explore it and they take it apart and they look at your terms and conditions, they look about how you describe yourself in the App Store, they look at what the app is actually doing. And one of the struggles that we had, and I hope Apple don't mind me saying this, their terms and conditions are very strict on what they call being sexually explicit. I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't have the exact wording that they put in their terms and conditions, but there was a whole section which they said on I think at least 2 separate occasions they thought that we had crossed over and we were not in line with their terms. And we went back and we visited and we talked, we went back and forth with them, and we really came to a definition, and we started using language within the app and then also within the description you put in the App Store. That's also vitally important. So we always said from the beginning, and we knew that if we wanted to be in the App Store, we couldn't have people's personal profile pics that are available to the public having any nudity or anything sexually explicit in them. They're also super sensitive about BDSM. So we wanted to make sure that we didn't have anything that was would be considered extreme. May not be considered extreme in the lifestyle, but whether it's tools or pieces of furniture or equipment that may be used in a consensual scene, some of that may have seemed a little too strong, a little too spicy for Apple. So we set our own guidelines and terms and conditions that kept very much in line with what Apple wanted, and we converged together. Whiplr and Apple converged on something that both of us could live with.
We used to be on Vocal. We used to be able to show nudity, so on Vocal. Nobody else could find us except for the people that knew about our shows. We were on Vocal for about 3.5, 4 years. And now we moved over we're doing it through Google Hangout. We cannot show nudity. We even have to be careful of some of the things that we do. So we have to make it, kind of not really vanilla, because we do talk about adult conversations. We do use adult vocabulary. But we had to do a lot of changing because we see the value of being so public with, we've had over 800,000 people, watch our show since we relaunched. I think we're up to like 900,000 people. But in the chat room, let's see what they're saying. Art Miller says, nice job on negotiating, as recognizing it's a big challenge. Yes, it is. And I wanted people to hear this. I wanted people to know after you and I spoke, when I asked you those questions, I think it's really important that people understand how difficult sometimes it is to have some of the language and some of the things that we do. Tony Bone says, what about the over-the-air update where they can download the app with proper BDSM terms after the download from iTunes and Google Play that is not hosted on those sites but on your site? Does that make sense? Do you understand? I can't comprehend that. I'm blonde or gray.
No. Yeah, I think I understand. I think I understand what he's saying. So Tony Bones is suggesting that we can have the app available so that people can download it for the first time, but then there will be some mechanism for updating it, which didn't go through iTunes and Google Play, which would allow you to have some kind of stronger language or At the moment, we're not exploring that, and I don't even know how feasible that is. I'm not coming from the technical side, so I'm assuming that in asking the question, Tony Bones has an idea that you could do something like that. I think I'll tell you why, and this is why I don't want to put it all completely on Google and Apple. I want to take responsibility for the app that we put out and not blame the gatekeepers. We wanted very much for this to be an app that was available to the mainstream. Now, there's two parts. There's two sections of the community that we want to serve. And I'm guessing that a lot of your viewers and some of the people in the chat room come from one section, and I'll call those the kink committed. The people who are in this lifestyle, live this lifestyle, are looking for ways to use technology, and in this case, use a mobile app to continue something which they've already been exploring in lots of other aspects of their lives, whether it's through FetLife, whether it's through online communities, whether it's through going to Munches. The kink committed, and we wanted to provide an app which stood up to their scrutiny. And but there's also another section of the community, and that's the people who are starting to come in for the first time. And I call those people the kink curious. Now, whether they have just read a book or watched a movie, or maybe they've gone to a club which had a fetish night, or whether they heard from a friend that they went out and did something and tried something or explored something, these people are coming in a brand new, fresh meat for the kink grinder, so to speak, and they need to know that they're looking at something which isn't just instantly filled up with inside baseball jargon, which isn't immediately forbidding because I don't really understand what it is. I don't know what the word munch means. Why are they telling you to go to munch? I have no idea what a munch is in this context. A munch is what I do with my breakfast.
Would you like to know what a munch is? A munch is a gathering. A munch is a gathering where there's no alcohol served. It's a restaurant, and where people eat food. They socialize with like-minded people, and it's a safe place for people to go that want to meet other people that are like-minded and that are into kink. That's what a munch is. A munch isn't munching on a woman's, whatchamacall. I'm very direct.
So in many ways, we wanted Whiplr to have that atmosphere of a munch, that it can be as well as, when you get into a chat and when you're in a private video chat with someone, you can do whatever you want. Apple and Google doesn't care what you do in private. No one is recording those sessions. You can say whatever you want. You can show whatever you want. You can perform any activity you want and satisfy yourself in any way. But when you come to the app for the first time, it should have that kind of informality that a munch has, where there's no expectations, no judgments, no sense of, I'm not sure if this is for me because everyone looks so different to the way I look. No, like in a munch, everyone is there, relaxing, talking, exploring, feeling comfortable in their own skin without that whole, there's a whole separate side which says you go to a fetish club, you're going to get dressed up, you're going to perform, you're going to show yourself in the most fantastic and exotic and exciting ways. A munch is much more accessible, and that's where we wanted to be as well. So, on the one hand, I said everything I said about Apple and Google and how we had to meet their standards. On the other hand, we take responsibility for this. We know that the app looks perhaps a little vanilla the first time you get in there, but I promise you, once you explore, you find people what you're interested in, you take it into a private chat, you can get as far from vanilla as you could possibly imagine. But I think there's value in creating that safe space for starters.
In the future, do you think that there will be private galleries that people can put intimate things if they desire, that is private only, that they have the passwords to get in? Would that be a possibility in the future?
I'm not sure we want to be, a private gallery sounds like that we would be storing that information on our servers that other people would have access to. And I'm not sure that's the business we're in. We know now already, and I can tell you, people are sharing tens of thousands of pictures in private chats. Now, I have no way of knowing what's in those pictures. I have no interest in knowing, unless those pictures are sent to me. I have no interest in knowing what pictures people are sharing. but I know people are sharing pictures, and I would imagine those pictures probably go beyond the profile pictures that we ask for. So, it's already happening. I don't think we want to be the repository of people's galleries, but they can share them and they can have video chats. They can be as explicit, as spicy, as kinky as they wish when they have a private chat.
Wonderful. And there's some more chat questions. Art Miller has said, will the site be policed then? He wants to know if you'll go through, if things will be policed.
So if you're talking about the app rather than the site, the app itself, we run the same kind of policing that many messenger apps run, which is community policing. If you believe someone has behaved inappropriately or has sent material which is either totally inappropriate or perhaps even illegal, then there is a reporting function. And you report that, and we have a team 24/7 going through reports. You can also block people. And when you block them, you will never be able to see anything they send you again. They will never be able to find you again on the app. You can erase, if you've sent something to someone which you then regret, you can block that person, you can erase what you've sent, and it gets erased both from your phone and the person you sent it to. So, we've tried, we don't want to be storing anything. We're not in the business of hoarding people's pictures or keeping video chats in an archive. That's not what we're interested in. What goes on between two consenting adults exists for those two people without us ever interfering and without us policing it. But we say to all our users, we expect everybody to behave in a civil fashion and to behave responsibly. If you see something which you think is inappropriate or illegal, report it and it will be dealt with. And then block the person. Make sure they can't send you stuff again.
I like that. I like that. It's good. It's good. I mean, you still have the ability to be as kinky as you want to be, and you still have to take responsibility for your actions. I think that's a really good move. Art Miller said, ask a question. How has 50 Shades impacted your business model and funding strategy?
So it's a great question, and it would be silly of me to say that we've never heard of 50 Shades of Grey, and what is that? Obviously this is a phenomenon which has been huge in the world, and I know that within the kink community there are various reactions to it. And when I spoke about the kink committed and the kink curious, there seems to be a sort of general snobbery, may be a bit too strong. But not everyone in the kink community is entirely happy with the way 50 Shades has come in and defined things. And I think that's probably fair. When you look at the paradigm that 50 Shades of Grey sets up with this billionaire, macho, dominant male, and he finds a virginal, literally in the book, she's a virgin, and signs a contract with her to enter into this dominant relationship. I think that may be one tiny aspect of the BDSM or the kink community, but I certainly don't think it speaks to everybody. When we came in and we said we're releasing an app, certainly we were aware that there are also a whole new set of people who are kink curious, who are using 50 Shades of Grey as a launch pad to explore their own sexuality, their own interests, their own kinks, and take that out to the wider world. And we said, this is something worth piggybacking on. We don't necessarily align ourselves with 50 Shades, but we launched the app around about the time that the movie was coming out, and that was hugely valuable for us in terms of publicity. Just in getting the word out there about Whiplr, we said, here's a conversation that is already happening. Certainly people want to have this conversation about how kink is mainstream, how kink is out there, about how more people are open to exploring themselves and going on this journey, finding out what they want, finding other people who want the same thing, then we want to get the word out to as many of those people as possible.
Well, I'm cracking up about the chat room because Art Miller writes in, yep, Mel loves the books and the films. He's definitely wrong. It's not anything like BDSM. I mean, it has brought a tremendous amount of people into our life choice. I've been teaching at the Lear for 12 years, and my classes are packed. I mean, wall-to-wall people of newbies. I mean, I walk into the class, and I think I'm late because every seat is filled, and they're standing room only. The second and the fourth Friday of each month, I've taught thousands and thousands of newbies that have come into the lifestyle. And I do bring up the book. I do bring up how it has changed the way that people view us. We're no longer taboo, but we're still taboo, you know, but we're more out in the front. Mommy porn has done a lot of good for BDSM, whether people don't like it or not. But there's some more questions that I want to get up here before. Tony Bone says, at the moment, you can only download one picture. You can only upload one picture. Will future updates allow galleries?
So I think he's talking about the profile picture there.
Yes.
And yes, you can upload one picture in your profile picture, but we're going to allow you to upload more pictures. But once they exist in the public profile, they all have to follow those public profile guidelines, which is no nudity, nothing sexually explicit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, we're looking to broaden that. So when people look at your profile, they can scroll through a number of pictures if you give them permission. But if those pictures are made available to everybody, they will all have to fit those guidelines. But what you can have when you start that conversation with someone, you can send them a picture, any number of pictures that you want, and they can be explicit or as kinky as you choose. So again, we don't want to be necessarily in the business of hosting people's dirty pictures, because that puts responsibility on us to make sure to review every single picture and make sure, you know, it can be as explicit as you want, but you know, we want to make sure that nothing illegal is happening. You know, and I've worked in previous companies with nothing to do with Whiplr, but I worked in a video sharing company, and you'd be amazed at the kind of content that people think they want to upload to these companies, and puts an enormous amount of pressure on companies. And I'm talking about stuff that is not just explicit. I'm talking about stuff that's potentially illegal. You know, we have a responsibility to make sure that, you know, that the images that, if we're hosting them, you need to make sure you need to get model releases, that they're correct age, and these are things which are a minefield for a company that's hosting content. So what we say to our users, want to host that, we're not.
Your internet's moving a little slow, so I'm gonna break in here so I can kind of catch it up, and then it will. I'm not a prude, as you know. I've been in the lifestyle for 20 years. Not a prude. I don't care for, excuse my language, cock pictures. I don't care for all of the pictures that I see, and every single picture that I see on I love FetLife, and I like Collar Space. I love them, but I don't want to see a whole bunch of nude pictures all the time. It bothers me. It really does. And I think that some of the girls some days are going to wake up when they're 20 years old. They're going to wake up when they're 30 or 40 and they have children, and their children are going to be finding their photographs that are on the internet. And I don't think that's, I think they've got to think out of the box and into the future sometimes too. But I'm glad that you don't allow any nudity. I think that it will make it a much better site. You know, porn is porn. That's how I feel. And that's only my one perspective of it. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, so look, as I say, what two consenting adults do in a private chat, and what they want to send each other, and the kind of information they want to share, and the kind of images they want to share, and the kind of activities they want to share in a video chat, two consenting adults should be free to do whatever they want, and that can be as vanilla as they want, or as explicit, or, you know, I don't want to define what pornography is, as explicit, as kinky, as out of the mainstream, and as private as they want. I have no interest in hearing about that. I'm not looking to intrude on anyone's scene and judge anybody for what they do in a private chat. In the public area, when you put up a profile picture, we've already established that we want to make that a safe area where no one, whether they're new or whether there's somebody who's been in the lifestyle for many years, is seeing something which is like, whoa, I really didn't, I was just leafing through the app. I was just looking at things. I did not expect to have that shoved in my face. So, you know, that's certainly for the public profile. You know, we know there are also issues in every app, and this has nothing to do with Whiplr, where for some people, and usually those people are men, when they connect with someone privately the first time, they think a great way of breaking the ice is sending a picture of their lower half uncovered. Now, I'm not sure what the end game is there. I've never done it, so it's hard for me, and that's nothing to do with me being vanilla. That's just to do with, I hope, me being a gentleman. I'm not sure what the end game is. You send someone, the first time you chat to someone, you send them a picture of your genitals. Yeah, I don't know that that's the perfect icebreaker. I have not met any women who say, yes, that's what I want to see. The first thing I want to see from a man is a picture of his penis. And yet there are some guys who do it. You know, I would recommend everybody, whether you're using Whiplr or whether you're using OkCupid or whether you're just texting somebody, find a more, I don't want to use the word intelligent, but find a more articulate way of expressing yourself and making a connection, because I think it's going to be more successful if you do.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And we have some more chat questions. Let's get these up here really quickly. We only have a few more minutes. It goes by quick, doesn't it? I know. So,
having fun.
Pardon?
Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, I know. And thank you for waking up so early. It's amazing. Art Miller says, can pictures be saved to a device or to the device? And how, or does it work with Snapchat?
Does it work with Snapchat? So yeah, at the moment, listen, there are ways, if someone has a picture up on their screen, we know there are ways of capturing that picture. And Snapchat has the same issue. Snapchat is an app where people share things and they disappear straight away. With us, the pictures are not saved to your device, but you know, if someone comes along with a camera and takes a picture of your screen when you're looking at things, or and I know that iPhones and Android phones have different ways of capturing, so it's possible to do it. Again, you know, one hopes that people treat each other with respect and you build a relationship. And I suggest men and women, whatever you're doing, if you're going to send a picture to someone, be responsible. Be aware that as far as Whiplr is concerned, you can cancel that picture. You can, and it should be canceled from the phone that you're dealing with. But you know, I can't know, and it's impossible to know. And Snapchat went through the same thing. What that person on the other end is doing in order to capture that. And so, to everybody, we say, use common sense, use good judgment, know who you're talking to, and behave responsibly.
I really want to know, what do you think is a tipping point to go mainstream versus just another app? Because I think that's what you're kind of gearing toward, is that, you know, you want to bring this also not just to the BDSM community, but to mainstream, because of, you know, all the people that are maybe curious about BDSM. What do you think that tipping point, or what do you have to do to get it to that place?
So, you know, it's a great question, and it's something we struggle with and we're wrestling with every single day. Because as far as we're concerned, we think there is a huge audience for Whiplr. And we think the kink community is probably, the people who've been in this lifestyle is probably bigger than most people realize. And, you know, and you're right, the heart of it in Los Angeles, but in London, in Berlin, in New York, in San Francisco, in Austin, Texas, you know, we know that there are big and healthy and functioning kink communities with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people in each of these major cities. So these are one, you know, we want to reach all of those people. We also know that out of the 100 million people that bought the book or went to see the movie, that some of those are going to want to explore further. You know, some of them are just going to be drive-by. You know, they're just rubbernecking, as they call it. You know, they just want to see what's interesting, and then they move along to something. But some of those are going to stay behind, and they're going to explore, and they're going to need help, and they're going to need encouragement. And we're pleased that community is in place to say, yeah, come on, listen, we can show you something. Come along to a munch. You know, we'll go from lunch to a party. We'll go from a party to a convention, and let's see and let's explore how you want to get it. Or we'll go to one of Rev Mel's courses and learn about how to behave properly. And these are all, you know, it's a journey, and that's the first thing we learned when we got together and we started planning this. The phrase in our head was, kink is a journey. It's not about one thing and this is who I am for all time. It's about exploring. It's about self-discovery, and it's about progress and movement through this world. And that's what we want to encourage. So yeah, we really believe strongly that there is a longevity that we can deliver, because kink is here to stay. And if you look at the mainstreamization of kink, whether it's the movie or whether it's, you know, pop stars wearing clothing which previously was only in the fetish community, you know, there are designers now designing latex and using materials that previously you only saw in fetish club nights, and now they're out on stage at the Super Bowl halftime show. You find mainstream personalities borrowing from the lifestyle and saying, "This is me. This is who I am. This is comfortable. This is what I'm exploring in public." And we're all for that. I know some people may say, "Ooh, that makes it too popular." I say you can't be too popular.
In the chat room, we have Tony Bone says, my Android version reports a connection error when I have a solid connection. What would be the best to install and then reinstall? He says, I have a lollipop with a sense of 6 HTC1.
Yeah, he's getting very too technical for you and me, Mel. I'm sorry, Tony Bones, if you're having difficulties with your Android connection. I suggest that you send everything you've just written there, which is going right over our heads. I suggest you send it to the Whiplr help desk. They should be able to tell you exactly what's what. We've seen some of those. I can't tell if he's got the latest version of the app, but we sort of sorted out, I think, most of the connection errors. He shouldn't have to uninstall and reinstall, but I don't want to speak to that. Let him get in touch with our customer service. Those guys are on 24/7. They'll be able to get him a response and tell him exactly what's what.
Great, because Tony's really smart with computers and all these things. Tony was very instrumental in helping us start live TV shows of TSR Network, and he used to have a show on our network. I adore that man. Some of the things that they're asking in the questions in the chat room also, will there be a stigma with the BDSM app? They wonder if the mainstream will think that it'll be a stigma against it.
So here's one of the things we found at the launch. Because we launched alongside, we chose to put our launch date on the same weekend that the 50 Shades of Grey movie was released. And 50 Shades of Grey movie, I think, was the biggest, most successful box office in February in North America in history. And then also had a huge release around the world. So this wasn't just a North America thing. And we put out our app and we sent out a press release to every mainstream press, every tech press, and said, this is who we are. We're out there. There's now a mobile app, a messenger app for people who are into the kink lifestyle. And what we saw was that there wasn't much of a stigma. We got picked up by Cosmopolitan. We got picked up by Vogue. We got picked up by the Daily Mail. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Daily Mail is a British newspaper that runs the single most visited news website in the world. And they wrote a whole piece about how this was a messenger app for the kink community, and they tied it into 50 Shades of Grey, which was fine by us, even if it wasn't our intention. And where they put that in the online magazine was absolutely fascinating to me, because I planned this great big launch. We wanted as many people to pick it up as possible, but actually the Daily Mail has a section called Female. It's a terrible pun. Female as in FEMAIL, but that's their section aimed at women, and that's where they put this story about a fetish-related messenger app went towards the female section of the magazine. Why? Because as far as the Daily Mail is concerned, anything to do with 50 Shades of Grey, which means in their mind, anything to do with kink and fetish, is a female-oriented story.
And it's not. But that's where I found you. That's where I saw the article, and I go, oh my God! So I joined it immediately, and I said, I need to know more about this.
Well, what you see in most in all dating apps, and we don't necessarily define ourselves in that way, but you see an overabundance of men and a minority of women. And when we look at the numbers for Whiplr, we've seen a much more balanced take-up of the app, because there is, within this community, there is a curiosity level which has been spiked in the female population, and that is definitely, we can't take anything away. Whatever we think of 50 Shades of Grey, it's bringing more women into the lifestyle, and that, Whiplr is there to encourage them and introduce them to as many people as possible. And I think that's something really positive. So we're not seeing so much of a taboo. We're out there, and kink is out there as well.
Well, I agree with you. I think that it's going to grow even further, and I think education, I think having safe places to go to discover it is so important. We're going to be we're going a little bit over a couple minutes. I hope you have a little bit more time, Daniel. So where do you see Whiplr going in 5 years?
So one of the, we think we're creating a brand, a mainstream brand for kink, which is saying, look, here we've got an app, and I can connect and meet people and find play partners, or I can meet people that I've met before. We're listing events in the app, so I can find out who's going to be at the next convention, who's going to be at the next fetish night, and I can connect with them ahead of time. I can make sure I can connect with them afterwards because I found out who they are and what they're into. So we want to serve every aspect of that kink community, and as I said, all the way from the kink committed through to the kink curious. And we want to help contribute to that mainstreamization. We want to help say, this is kink, it's broad. Everyone has a little kink in them. Everyone has something they want to explore about themselves. Everyone has something which they've always questioned. I've always thought that maybe I was a little bit odd or a little bit different. Everyone has that feeling. It's the basis of all literature, that sense of being unusual. And we want people to embrace that thing which is unusual. And we want to say, everyone's unusual. Everyone's kinky. Everyone has a fetish. Come find people who think like you, who behave like you, who are passionate like you are, who have the desires that you have, and want to explore those with other people. Use Whiplr, find other people, and you'll find that it's okay to be a bit different, and it's okay to embrace your differences and embrace your kinks.
I like that. One of my quotes is there's not a street in the United States that someone is not being tied to a bed, blindfolded, and spanked. And it's all over the world. I mean, we're really not that much different than vanilla people, except that we may do a little bit more kinkier things. But one of the questions I want to ask you really quickly, so have you had any surprises in what you've learned about BDSM and kink through working with the app and working with your friends that are kinky? What have you learned?
So that's a great question. One of the things, I guess, is exactly what you just said, that there's nobody walking down the street with a big arrow over their head saying, kinky, this person's kinky, watch out, cross over to the other side of the road. Kinky people are you and me. They look like you and me. We're out there. We're holding down jobs. We're raising families. We are going to the movies. We're reading books. We're reading newspapers. It's really, there's no division between the kinky people and the not kinky people. We felt that for so long this community was not served well on mobile, and that's what Whiplr's about. But it's out there. We're everywhere. And you won't know until you check your app and find out the person standing 10 meters away from you is also into the same things you're into.
I like that. Listen, I want a couple more questions really quickly.
Sure.
Will you be doing a Windows app for the new Windows phones? Is that?
We're exploring it. At the moment, I can't tell you a date at the moment, but obviously we want to be available on as many platforms as possible. So I don't have anything for those Windows phone owners at the moment, but I say keep pressuring us, keep sending messages, and who knows.
And will there be an internet app just for people can go on if they don't have cell phones? Will there be something that they can go onto their computers and go into the same program and be able to meet and get to know other people and message other people? Is that in the works?
I would say the same answer. It's not in development at the moment. We're very much focused on the mobile world. But if the demand is there, if this community grows to such an extent, they want to find other platforms where they can maintain the same Whiplr profile, we would certainly explore that. And
what other different social medias are you on? Twitter, Facebook? Where are you?
Come find Whiplr on Twitter. Come find us on Facebook. Do a search for the term Whiplr. You'll find us there. We want as many touch points as possible for people to come and talk to us, and we're there answering people's questions, chatting with people every time you want to find someone from Whiplr to ask a question to. You can certainly find us on social media. And
Tony keeps saying, what language is the app built in?
That's a great question. At the moment, it's all, if you're talking about programming language or what language the app is released in. At the moment, it's in English, but we're hoping to have it available in other languages as well. You know, there's demand from all over Europe, and even a little bit from the Far East, that they have the app available in languages which are native to them.
Wonderful. And I want to thank you so much for coming on. And I was so excited when you and I talked on the phone, and we talked about your app, and you know, we were very honest with each other about you know, some of the questions that I had to ask you, because I think, oh, he says, is it Java? He's talking about JavaScript and stuff like that.
Again, going right over, I'm not a programmer. I can tell you it's something like that, something complicated, something computery.
Yeah, apps are difficult to make. I know, I understand that. I tried to build one. So, but I want to thank you so much for coming on, Daniel. This has been a pleasure. We've learned so much about Whiplr, and I think that more and more people will be able to watch this. This is going to go on YouTube. It will stay on there forever. So when people have any questions, and I want to thank you so much for coming on, and for all the people that are in the chat room and the people that have watched. Thank you so much for coming and watching the Rev Mel Show on TSRnetwork.com, where real people, ooh, let me get my mouse over there, where real people talk about real sex with really kinky people. Thank you, you guys. Thank you so much.